everyone. Welcome to the Swing Museum podcast. I'm your host, Jan Eberle, and this is the June podcast that we normally would be doing at the first of the month. We know we're, a couple of weeks late, but for good reason. As I mentioned in May, we were going to be taking our annual trip to the Glenn Miller Festival, which also includes one of the most important events of the year, which is their annual national competition and awards program for young musicians coming out of high school and or after their first year of college and competing for these 6 scholarships. So what we get is narrowed down to 10 in each category of vocal and instrumental, some of the best and brightest musicians you have ever heard from across our great nation. And they are judged by professional judges who have a great deal of background in being doctorate of music and so on. I mean, it is such a wonderful honor to be there to watch the competition and be a part of it. So let's go back in history for just a minute before I break in and bring you a collage of sorts. The Glenn Miller Birthplace Society formed 44 years ago, and 43 years ago, they got a donation from somebody who was a regular donor to the Glenn Miller Birthplace Society and gave a separate donation and said, "We want you to do something extra special with this." Well, the regular donor I'm talking about is Bob Hope. He not only loved the kids of Glenn Miller, Steve and Johnny, but he loved the Glenn Miller Birthplace Society as well as their father, Glenn, the music and the history they made. So this is where we got this program. So I went back, and my husband and I together put a collage of the last 14 years, not only of winners, competitors, those who attend, people from the Glenn Miller family, from the old bands, from my father's camp, everything. So I'd like you to take a listen and feast your eyes on some of the great memories I have from Clarinda. Watch. 14 years of great performances, great young artists, and wonderful and special times. As always, we wish them the best in their music history and what they can go out and achieve. So let's talk about this last year, which has actually happened just a few weeks ago. The instrumental scholarship sponsors are the members of the Glenn Miller Birthplace Society, and there are many, and they are very generous. They really believe in trying to keep the scholarship program going, and it is going strong, and the steam keeps getting stronger and stronger. So we have these folks to thank, plus personal outside donations, which also help. So I'd like to take the opportunity now, in a collage fashion, to show you the 3 finalists from the instrumental awards. And in order, you're going to be watching Annabelle Tejeda and Elizabeth Shepard and Cole Polensky. Enjoy. Hi, everyone. I'm Jan Eberle, your host of the Swing Museum podcast. Tune in by day to ksav.org to hear the best of old-time radio since, well, old-time radio. And check out their broadcast schedule where you can listen to a different hosted show every evening. How fabulous. But don't forget to check out my Swing Museum podcast archive page for the latest and greatest in my world and the world of art. So tune in to ksav.org, your radio home on the web. The talent this year was unbelievable. I think I mentioned to you that the very small town of Clarinda, Iowa, which is Glenn's birthplace, is the place where everyone convened. Now, these are exiting high school students, many of them. They come from Illinois, South Carolina, Virginia, Nebraska, Florida this year. I mean, they just come from everywhere, and they spend the entire summer competing and going out and meeting new artists. It's an amazing process and one I'm really happy to be a part of. Right now, I'd like to go to the vocal part of this scholarship competition. So I've got the 3 finalists, third, second, and of course the Ray Eberle Vocal Scholarship winner, which would be the first place vocal winner. And we'll get back to Abby Kate, who was the first place. I'd like to let you listen to the third and second place winners, who are just amazing. And I have to tell you that both judges this year, each for the vocal and the instrumental, commented to me before they were ready to compilate their findings that it was so difficult, so very difficult, because they are all so very good. So it took a little extra time before we got the winning names, but it was worth it. So here now are the third and second place vocal winners. I hope you enjoy it as much as we did. Well, now it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce you to Abby Kate Boshin. She's from Urbandale, Iowa. She really aspires to be, and is already, an opera singer. At the age of somewhere between 18 and 19, you won't believe exactly how hard she has worked and how wonderful her trainers and educators have been with her. Here to present an award is myself to Abby Kate after her wonderful performance. Enjoy.
When
outstanding. All of the vocalists were so wonderful today. And for me, this is my 14th year. Pardon me. The first day I rode into Clarinda, I hadn't been here. I came the year before we started the scholarship. And I swear I heard the ghost of my father as we pulled into town saying, "Boy, I thought I was from a small town." But what a wonderful, large town and heart it is. So I had to offer the scholarship because I wanted to do what I thought my father would want to do, which is pay it forward. So we'd love to hear what your immediate plans are and what your plans for the future are.
So next year, I will be attending Drake University to study vocal performance, which is opera. It's definitely my first love in music is opera. So I'm super excited to have the opportunity to study it.
I'm so excited. What about the future? What do you see?
Well, I mean, a very lofty goal of mine is to perform with the Met. So hopefully I make it there.
So it's my pleasure to offer you this first place vocal. I'm going to break this aside. Well, if you're just joining us, you are tuned into the Swing Museum podcast. I'm your host, Jan Eberle, and we've been spending the lion's share of this podcast bringing you fantastic music, history, something that is very, very important culturally and historically in this country is to keep art alive. So I'd like to bring you an interview. I don't normally have the opportunity to do this, thanks to our very good friend Chris Gardner, who is always there filming at the Glenn Miller Festival, and the students who are performing and competing. He did a wonderful job picking up this interview and sending it to us, as well as some of the things that you have just seen on this podcast. We thank him very much for his contribution. So I'd like to let you see a little bit about what the winners have to say. Some of them, despite the power of their voice, are very soft-spoken young men and women. Take a watch. Hi, everyone. I'm Jan Eberle, your host of the Swing Museum podcast. And as promised, we are in Clarinda, Iowa, and we just got done with the finals of the scholarship program. It's always such a great honor to have these students, these artists here. But I grabbed 3 of them, and I want to introduce you to them, and then we're going to chat just a little bit about their art and how they came into art, and how they ended up with their voice or the music and how they're playing. So I'm with Elizabeth and Abby and Jillian. And Jillian and Abby are vocal finalists. Abby is the first and third for Jillian. And Elizabeth is our second place instrumental winner. She played a beautiful harp today. So just in no particular order, what age did you know that you were an artist, that you were a musician, that you felt something that made you feel, was it grade school? Was it anybody?
For me, it was right around 4th or 5th grade. I had already been taking some piano lessons for a few years, but my piano teacher she also gave voice lessons and guitar lessons, and so I started taking informal voice lessons from her, and my first song was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's a classic. And I think the first recital where I actually sang performing a solo for people, that was just super cool for me, and I knew I wanted to keep going with that because I'm not one who's very good about practicing, and so piano wasn't really doing it for me because you have to practice a lot. Not that you don't for singing, but
that's for sure.
Yeah.
So learning all those instruments and being part of that's going to help as you start to educate for becoming a teacher. I think you shared that with the crowd, and I think if you can be as great a performer and pass that on to those who are learning from you, that's one of the best gifts that you can give. So, bravo.
Thank you.
By the way, how did you like the guitar?
Oh, I didn't try that.
Oh,
I didn't get
okay.
lessons from her. I can't. Anything with strings, no.
I
can't.
Maybe, Elizabeth could hook you up, strings. So what about you, Elizabeth?
I went to a harp camp 2 years ago, and I think I really enjoyed that, and that's when I was like, I like playing harp a lot.
So you've been playing for 2 years?
No, I've been playing since I was 5 or 6.
That's what I thought you said.
Yes.
So you just dabbled, is what you're saying. In other words, you didn't take it seriously until the camp.
Well, yeah, I did. I played a lot before that and stuff, but it was at the harp camp when I really was like, I really enjoyed the harp, and I like it a lot. Before that, I played a lot for churches, and I played a lot for like the library, the public library. I played a couple of concerts there and stuff. But it was at harp camp when I was like, I really enjoyed playing the harp.
So I know you're going to be studying medicine, is it?
Zoology.
Zoology. What you think that's going to be a pretty neat balance, being an artist and then doing something that's technical, sort of. I think it's awesome. So you're going to continue to play.
Yes, definitely.
Abby, we know where you're going to school, but when did that singing thing, when did that really hit you?
I honestly can't really give you a specific. I've been singing for as long as I can remember, and we'd go to church camp and we'd sing, and I just enjoyed stuff like that, but I wasn't really sure what direction I wanted to take that, if I wanted to like go for a career in music or not, and that was actually something I discovered this year, end of the summer, because I went to Italy last summer to be in an opera program, and that was when I just fell in love with everything that opera is and has to offer. So that's what I'll be continuing on in that genre in particular. Before then, it was a lot of just me getting to play around and do musical theater, or we do show choir at our school, so I got to experience a lot of different genres, and then I was the one last year that decided to narrow it down to just opera.
Mm-hmm. So if you had an opportunity to do something where your classically trained voice would fit into, say, a Broadway show,
Oh, I'd love to
would you do that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. We hope that you do.
Absolutely.
That would be great. So you're going to be starting school soon, and are you going right into the teaching, or are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm going to be beginning at Indiana University at Jacobs School of Music in the fall, and I'm going to be studying music education with a choral focus. So my hope is to eventually become a high school choir director. I don't do so well with younger kids, so hopefully I get into high school. Hopefully I get to teach high school.
Yeah.
All of the directors I've worked with over the years, whether it was in the community choir, Red Rose Children's Choir of Lake County, or my high school choirs. My middle school actually didn't have a choir or band orchestra or anything. I went to a very small Catholic school. But all of the directors I've worked with, they've all just been very inspiring, very giving people, and I just hope that I can find it within myself at school to emulate that.
I think that's exactly why you will. You're taking a step where somebody has just been that has impressed and inspired you. Awesome. So when do you start classes for zoology? Are you already into that now? Or?
In the fall, I'll start. I'll go out to Indiana University in August.
Okay. Awesome. You are taking the harp.
Yes.
Okay. Just checking, Mom. All right. Well, it's been great talking to these gals. We're going to go back and take a break. You're tuned into the Swing Museum podcast. I'm Jan Eberle. We'll be right back. Well, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this June podcast. Although it's a little late, I think it was well worth it. I can't wait to bring this to you again next year. In the meantime, we have a lot of podcasts to cover between now and then. I would like to make an announcement, though, and let you know that the Swing Museum podcast is going on hiatus for 2 months, July and August, for a summer vacation. I think we all need a little bit of that. So we look forward to bringing you back a brand new season of the Swing Museum podcast starting in September. And I'll shoot a promo out reminding you. In the meantime, I really have appreciated you're listening to the podcast and your interest. We're going to have new and exciting things coming in September. So I hope that you join us then. Thank you for joining us, and we wish you happiness and health. Until next time, so long.